welcome back to this episode of Riding the Wall. Get a little tongue-tied already. That's not good, right? But welcome to this episode of Riding the Wall. And we're going to do things a little bit differently this week. Our boy Justin's not in here for this episode. He had a long week. He got with me earlier today and said, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. So we got my son Eric. He is he's our tech man. He is our internet guy, our internet guru. He's the one that put together the website, ridingthewall.com. He is the one that puts together all the standings, the points. So when people get fussy about the points not being in there on time, he's the one that...
yeah, that would be me.
He's the one that I got to text and say, hey, Earl's getting fussy. But no, I'm just kidding. They don't get fussy about it. But Earl does from time to time.
Okay.
But that's just
I
Earl.
understand.
When you meet Earl, you'll understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's his own. He's a little different, but he's a good guy.
Yeah.
But so with Eric being in the on this podcast today, he's learning the racing, and I know he's sat in on a podcast before. I don't know, some of you may have listened to that podcast, some of you may not have, but he's a young man. He's just starting his family. He's got two young, beautiful daughters, my granddaughters, and he's learning the racing stuff. He's learning the NASCAR part of racing. He's familiar with the local dirt tracks and stuff like that because, you remember going as a kid when I was doing it all the time. So he knows that part of it, but he's learning the NASCAR world and the NASCAR drivers and some of the rules and things like that. So it's interesting to get his perspective from somebody who's kind of new-ish to the NASCAR world. So we're going to get your perspective on some of this. Okay. You all right with that?
That sounds good. I got some biases for no reason, just because...
Oh, that's okay. We love to hear that
for no explanation, just because it's just how I feel, but...
Well, that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
We like to hear, the questions that I'm going to call you a newbie. I know you're not really a newbie, but...
well, I'm a newbie to the new drivers, because...
Yeah. Well, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear the perspective of a newbie.
That sounds good to me.
I'm gonna get my Friday relaxation medication opened up here and started. So, well, let's just start off with Darlington. I know we're recording this on Friday. Darlington seems like 2 weeks ago, but what did you catch of the Darlington race, if anything?
I just caught the highlights, but I saw, Bell started on pole, had some issues, pit lane issues, and just all downhill after that.
Yeah, he's had some bad luck with the pits.
Yeah.
And they gave him a better pit crew, if you can believe that.
No, I just...
So what they did with Bell's pit crew, he had kind of a rough pit crew all season. It's given him fits, right? And his teammate Ty Gibbs, he's had one of the best pit crews in all of NASCAR, right? I think they were the third best overall. So when Ty Gibbs didn't make the playoffs and Christopher Bell did, they said, "Hey, let's give Bell the better pit crew. That way, it increases his chances during the playoffs. And since Ty Gibbs isn't in it, he's going to get the lesser of the crew. So that's kind of why they swap. And I completely understand. And I'm all for that. If I'm the team owner, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to give every driver the best chance I can, right? So yeah, he had some pit stop issues. I'll tell you, somebody else who had a pit stop issue is Kevin Harvick, and I know that's going to be a sore spot with our boy Justin. He's a big Kevin Harvick fan, but it was just a victim of circumstance, really. I mean, he was already committed.
I saw that where he was already going in, and then Newman or whoever spun and put out a caution.
Yeah, I don't know what Reddick was doing. I think Reddick was running first or second at the time, might have been winning the race, and then I think he was slowing down to try to pit, and then he realized it was too late, but by then he's going so slow on the track.
Yeah, it looked like Newman was just
hauling around there because he had no intentions of pitting or slowing down, and then I guess he seen Reddick, and he slammed on the brakes, spun it out. And by that time, Harvick was already down low. He was committed. There was a couple people behind. I think it was Byron and maybe Truex that was behind Harvick that was far enough back that they were able to swerve back out on the track to avoid any issues.
There, yeah.
But Harvick was already down there so low, and what you may notice, and I don't know if you've seen it on the highlight that you watched, but there is a commitment box. That's what they call it. It's like it's an orange square that they paint on the track, and once you are to the inside of that commitment box, you're locked into making a pit stop. You cannot come back out. Even if, like, had Harvick seen that and they said, don't pit, and he swerved real hard right to get back on the track, I think if you're in that situation, and this is the way I remember the rule, I might not be 100% correct, but if you hit that commitment box with your left side tires only, like let's say you straddle it and your right side tires are to the right of the commitment box, but your left side tires are to the left of the commitment box, right? So you straddle it. I think you're okay to go back on the track, no issues, no penalties. But if your right side tires touch that penalty square in any way, then you'll get a penalty for committing and then going back out on the track. I think that's the way it goes. I think your left side can hit it or straddle it, whatever. But he didn't even try to do that. He was already committed. He probably just did the right thing and just went on to the pits. But what he really made a mistake was he stopped in the pits at the time, because as soon as the yellow flag comes out, pit road is closed. You're not allowed to come into the pits, at least for a couple laps, so they get everything out on the track straightened up and pit crews are ready, and then they all come in. But had he just drove through the pits and come back out on the track, he would have had no penalty. But since he was already in there, he went ahead and stopped, and that's where he got his penalty, where he had to go back to the back. I know there's a lot of Kevin Harvick fans out there that are mad about that, but it's just a victim of circumstance to start off with, and then he kind of dug his own hole when he ended up stopping. And I really wanted to see Kevin Harvick do pretty good, maybe win one or two. He could win all the races, and I'd be perfectly fine with that. But he did kind of shoot himself in the foot there a little bit on that one, which is unfortunate. Like I said, there's a lot of people that are not Harvick fans are rooting for the guy right now. So, what else happened at Darlington? The big wreck, the Bowman Suarez wreck. That was pretty interesting. I think Bowman got a little bit aggressive on his blocking, just because. He dove down low to block Suarez, because Suarez had a run on him. He was going to get around him. And I don't blame him for trying to block that. But at the same time, you have to know when to give up on the block and let the guy go. And he really didn't do that. But at the same time, he was also trying to get back up high on the track so he can make that turn and make it a clean turn, and without hitting the wall, swerve, getting himself out of control and losing it. But Suarez had so much of a run, he just had to push him out of the way, and then they both got collected. So it wasn't a good deal for either one of them. But that's pretty much Darlington in a nutshell.
Yeah, other than the winner, but
Larson wins again. I'm fine with that. I'm a big Larson fan. That's his third points race of the year, plus he won the All-Star race, so it gives him a total of 4 wins. And Chevys usually do pretty good at Darlington. It's Darlington's a Chevy track, as we all know. I know HR gets fussy at me every time I say that. Every track for you is a Chevy track. Well, they are, because Chevy wins at all of them. So. But now I say that. It's a little running joke that we have. I always say every track's a Chevy track, but except this week. I'm not going to say that this week. We're going to Kansas, and that has not really been a Chevy track. It's pretty much been a Toyota track, and I think it's going to stay that way. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But what else from Darlington that you remember that you might want to talk about?
Not much. I just remember seeing Bubba spin, but somehow he was back in the front again.
Yeah.
And then Hamlin, he got collected in a wreck a little bit, didn't he? At some point.
Yeah, he got involved in something. I don't really remember exactly what Hamlin. Did he have a?
I just remember
I
someone
think he
wrecking
got a
and he kind
penalty.
of barely clipped somebody going through, but I don't know.
Mm.
Because I just remember seeing him towards the front.
Well, I
for
remember
most
him
of the
having to go
race,
to the
and then,
back. Yeah, he was fast.
Yeah.
He was ridiculously fast, and I can't remember if he got caught up in an accident or if he had some issues on pit road. I think he was on. I think he was on pit road. He had something happen to him on pit road, and he had to go. He lost a lot of track positions or something. But after that, he came up and he was driving like a man on a mission. I mean, he was just hauling after that, and I'm surprised he didn't make it farther up there than what he did. But Reddick finishes second. Chastain surprised me because Ross Chastain
top
was
5.
Yeah, I think he finished 5th, and he was running back there in the back all day. You know, he started in the back. I think he started like 27th. He didn't do anything on the first stage. I think he went a lap down in the first stage. Got his lap back at the stage break, and then slowly worked his way up from there.
That's what happens when you have a Chevy.
Yeah. Yeah, you got the power. You can make your way up front. See, right there. See, folks, that's parenting done right there. But not a whole lot really to talk about with Darlington. It's always a good race, especially the night race, the Labor Day weekend race. It's always exciting. Darlington's always a fast track. You know, you're seeing these guys just riding so close to the wall, which, you know, it bodes well for this podcast because they're riding the wall, you know. But, you know, they're riding so close to that wall that you can't even put a piece of paper between the car.
It is cool to see them all up there at that, so close.
And sometimes that car's just scraping the wall, and they're just still hammered down. You know, that's just, you don't see that a lot.
Yeah.
So when you can see a few drivers like Larson and Reddick who are comfortable up there on that wall, just doing that kind of thing is, I think that's amazing.
Yeah,
amazing
cool
to watch. I couldn't imagine being in that car and having that feeling of doing that. You know,
every lap going that fast. I mean, you're a couple inches from that wall. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you're just so much faster than these other guys because you're on that wall. Just you got that momentum carrying you around. That's really all I've got to talk about with Darlington. We're going to look ahead. You know, some things that happened this week. We talked a couple of weeks ago about Hamlin was flirting with Ford for a while, and I don't blame him. Like I said, he watched the Kyle Busch issue last year, and he seen Kyle just waiting and waiting and waiting for Grandpa Joe to sign a contract, and he never did, which left Kyle Busch kind of scrambling at the last minute for a ride. And I think Kyle Busch is going to be fine where he landed, as we all thought he would. But I don't think Hamlin was going to wait around that long. You know, as long as there wasn't a contract to be signed, he was going to start looking on his own. You know, he's got a team that he's got to think about with 23XI. He's got his own seat to worry about, his own paycheck and mouths to feed and all that stuff. So he wasn't going to wait for Grandpa Joe. So he started flirting with Ford. And, you know, they never really said, Ford or Hamlin never really said how far they got into the talks, but I'm sure things were already drawn up, ready to sign. I'm sure Ford was eager to scoop that up. They just never got the chance. That kind of Denny forced Grandpa Joe's hand to make him get him a contract because he let him see, hey, if you don't want to sign me, I got a whole manufacturer over here that will. So I think that kind of put a little boot to Grandpa Joe's butt to get it done and get it done early. So, but he signed a multi-year deal with JGR, so he's going to stay there for, I don't know. I don't think they've announced how many years it was. They just said it was a multi-year deal, so he'll be there probably till he retires, because he's getting up there. I think he's going to be one of the. Well, I'm not going to say he's going to be the next big name to retire, but he's just a few years away from that. So, But along with him signing with JGR, that's going to keep 23XI in Toyotas too. So that that's kind of a big deal. That's a big contract to get sealed, delivered.
Yeah.
It's done.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would have been at least 3 drivers going from Toyota to Ford.
Yeah.
If that had happened, but it didn't, so we're going to stay all the same on that front. So that rumor is now squashed. Another big thing we had this week was John Hunter Nemechek signed with... got the guard dog out there. He sees something.
Yeah, he's not happy.
Yeah, he's not happy. He signed with Legacy Motor Club, so he's going to take over the seat that Noah Gragson was in with the 42 car.
Mm-hmm.
With them going to Toyota, I think it was just a matter of time before John Hunter's name got called up.
Yeah.
Excuse me. He's a pretty good driver.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to end up winning the Xfinity Series Championship.
Probably.
I think they're wrapping their last races tonight at Kansas. So we're recording this on Friday, and I think no. Hold on here. I might be thinking wrong. I might have some stuff mixed up. Let me see. Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking... he was driving a truck, but maybe he's Xfinity. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yeah, he's going to be wrapping up the regular season Xfinity Championship probably tomorrow. I think they're racing tomorrow. So that'll be interesting. I mean, I'm kind of expecting that. If he don't win it, it's going to be a surprise to me.
Yeah, he's been fast and winning a lot this year. So
yeah, and if you ever want to play a drinking game and you're watching a race, especially an Xfinity race, maybe a NASCAR race next year, take a drink every time they say John Hunter Nemechek. You'll be drunk after about 15 laps.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's some drivers that they say their name a lot, but John Hunter Nemechek just seems to be said all the time. So yeah, it's just something that I've learned to do this year.
Yeah.
Every time they say John Hunter Nemechek, take a drink.
Yeah.
See how long it takes. Won't take long. But yeah, he signed a deal with Legacy, so he's going to be in the 42 car next year. That's going to be interesting. I think he's going to be... He could be posting results about like what Ty Gibbs is
probably
this year, and that's kind of what I expect.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all the contract signings and stuff that I know about this week. I mean, there may be some smaller stuff that I haven't heard, but uh-oh. I got HR texting me now. Uh-oh. He's on me already. Don't worry, HR. We're going to get it. So that leaves us with a Kansas preview. Now that we got the news and rumors and all that stuff out of the way, Darlington look back. What do you think about Kansas? Have you seen them race at Kansas yet?
I have not seen them race at Kansas.
Okay, well let me tell you, Kansas, it's a 1.5 mile track.
Mm-hmm.
It's shaped like Daytona, only a little bit smaller, right?
Okay.
So, and years ago, I'm talking 10, 15 years ago, they had a lot of tracks on the schedule that looked just like Kansas. There was Kansas, Vegas, Texas, Kentucky.
Is that what they call the cookie cutter track?
The cookie cutter track. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Because all these new tracks that they kept building were the same exact track.
Mm.
And it got to a point where the racing kind of got dull, kind of got stale at those tracks. And then, so that's why they kind of went away from them.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still a few left on the schedule with Vegas and Kansas and Texas. So we still have a few. And I think Kansas is probably one of the most exciting cookie cutter tracks that we have. Especially the last few races have been nothing but excitement, drama filled. you know. And one thing that you can count on is that the Toyotas are going to be fast. The Toyotas are tough to beat. I mean, well, this happens all the time. You get Fords. Some tracks, Fords are very fast, and a Chevy's going to sneak in there and get a win, like at the super speedways.
Yeah.
Fords are super fast on
seem like it, yeah.
Daytona and Talladega. They qualify fast. They race fast. There's a lot that finish up in the front, but then there's always seems to be a Chevy that sneaks their way in and gets a win. You know, a Larson or a Kyle Busch or something like that. And that could be what happens this week at Kansas, because I totally expect the Toyotas to run super fast, but there could be a couple of Chevys that could eke out the win there.
Yeah.
So, I expect it to be some close racing. It's going to be super fast. It's going to be an exciting race. And when I think of Toyota, I'm sorry, I'm looking at words and trying to think of something different. But when I think of Kansas, I think of the Toyotas. I think of Reddick, Hamlin, Bubba. Those guys are just fast. They've been proven to be fast quite often at Kansas. Tough to beat, you know. So it's going to be interesting. And now with this new car and the way some of these guys are coming up late in the season, they're making a surge towards the end of the year. There's going to be some guys that might have something to say about it as far as who wins this race that's not a Toyota.
Yeah.
So have you been looking into any of this? Have you been kind of reading up on Kansas or anything like that? Like who might be a favorite, who might be a dark horse, or what do you think?
Well,
from watching,
with Toyotas being fast, there's one guy who's in the Toyota who's in the front every week. Denny Hamlin. Pretty hard to beat.
He is going to be tough to beat. He won there in the spring race this year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He won in spring. He's got a few Kansas wins under his belt. So you're right on the money there with Hamlin.
He just seems like he's fast every week, no matter where you put him.
Yeah, and I think he has a really good chance to win this race as long as he doesn't get into any trouble in the pits.
Yeah.
That seems to be his Achilles heel right now is the pits. You know, he can be running really good. I kept picking him for the past 2 years in my fantasy stuff. I would pick Denny Hamlin at Darlington because he was always there. And then, but every time it seemed like he's right up front, ready to win. Then he has something go on in the pits, and it just took a win away from him. I mean, earlier this year, he got his 50th win. It might have been at the spring Kansas race. He got his 50th win of his career. But he would probably have at least close to 60 wins if it wouldn't be for stupid mishaps in the pits. You know, easily preventable stuff. He'd probably be closer to 60. So I think you're right on the money with Hamlin this weekend. Do you have any dark horses that you might think are not really people that you hear about, but people that you think might be able to win, or people, you know, from what you've seen and read about?
Harvick needs to get a win.
I agree with that.
He really needs to get a win.
Yeah.
So he might just be able to pull it off, but
I'd like to see him.
He needs to get one before he retires. So he's going to be. Every race is another race he can't.
Yeah.
Another opportunity missed. So he's going to have to.
I agree with that. I would like to see Kevin get a win before he hangs up the helmet. I'm going to say, as far as a dark horse, I don't know how much of a real dark horse this guy is Chris Buescher. Watch out for that guy, man. He's, I mean, of the past 6 races, he's won 3 of them.
Yeah, he is fast.
And last week he was right there. Yeah. He finished 3rd. You know, so even on these tracks that he doesn't really do good, you know, in the past you know, what I'm trying to say is these tracks that he doesn't really do good in the past, he's starting to really finish towards the front of these tracks now. So whatever they're doing, and he drives a Ford, and he drives Brad Keselowski as his teammate, right? So they both drive for RFK, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing.
Yeah.
Whatever they've done, they figured something out, because them two guys are running up front every week. So I would not be surprised if both of them guys are towards the front.
They're always
here at Kansas. You know, traditionally they're not people that you think of running up front at Kansas, but this week
they've got something figured out this year in those
they've
cars.
got something going on. So I would not be surprised for one or both of those guys to be up front. Like you said, Harvick is a good pick for a dark horse. And he's kind of a dark horse everywhere we go, except for a road course.
Yeah.
He's not good at road courses. And we're not good at dirt. You know, I mean, he can't do good. He cusses dirt the whole time he's driving around it. You know, he just does not like it.
Yeah.
He's very vocal about that. But everywhere else, if it's a circle, somewhat of a circle, Kevin Harvick has a chance to win.
There you go, yeah.
And, you know, Chase Elliott. Wouldn't surprise me with a Chase Elliott, just because now that he's got the monkey off his back of not making the playoffs, now he can relax and just race.
Yeah.
He may be somebody. I mean, I know he's in a Chevy, not in a Toyota, but, you know, like I said, there's a few Chevys that could sneak their way up to the front. Kyle Larson is always good at Kansas. He's a good pick. Kyle Busch, same thing. You know, there's two more Chevys that could do something. And Ross Chastain, he's been kind of sneaking up there. And I know he hasn't really done anything since the Darlington Spring race when Big Rick got mad and yelled at him. He got in trouble, had put him in time out there a little bit. He hasn't really done anything. But now that the playoffs are here, he's kind of turning it up. You know, he, like I said, last week at Darlington, started 27th, ran the back most of the race, and come back, finished 5th. So I would look for him to do something decent at Kansas. But, you know, outside of them Fords and Chevys, watch out for Reddick, Truex, Bubba, Denny. I wouldn't even be surprised if Ty Gibbs is right up there in the middle of all that too. So any Toyota on the track, there's 6 of them, 6 Toyotas. I would not be surprised if all 6 of them are up front.
Yeah.
You know, at any point in time, you could have 6 out of the top 10 be a Toyota. So, just something to watch out for.
Yeah.
So, some of the things that we've been keeping track of. I don't know if you know what we're keeping track of, but we're keeping track of the win totals. We got Chevy, Toyota, Ford. Right now we're sitting at Chevy with 14, Toyota with 7, Ford's catching them with 6. You know, for a long time we just went stale with Chevy. They jumped out there to like 12 quick.
Yeah.
And then they just stalled out. But they got another one last week with Larson, puts them up to 14.
Yeah.
And there you can see on the big board there at the bottom, me and Justin made a prediction. This was a few weeks ago. I don't remember. Well, it might have been like 6 weeks ago. We made this prediction of how many wins will Ford have at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And of course, I said 4, and I've lost that already.
Yeah.
Justin said 6. He's right on the money right now. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, he said Ford is going to win 5 of the last 10 races. What do you think about that?
5 of the last 10.
Yeah.
I mean, unless Buescher keeps doing what he's doing, it might be. But it's a stretch.
That's kind of a ballsy prediction. 5 out of 10
yeah.
when it took him the whole year just to get 5.
Yeah.
Actually, it took them the whole year to get the 3rd.
Yeah, it did.
Because they jumped out to 2 and then they stalled out. They didn't get another win forever, it felt like. And just kept being Chevy, 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 and then a Toyota, and then a Toyota, and then a Chevy, Chevy, Chevy. But took them forever, but now they're getting it figured out.
Yeah.
But we'll see if he comes through on that. You know, I don't really know what else to say about Kansas other than watch out for the Toyotas. Keep an eye on a few Chevys. You may have some racing deals. I think we're gonna see 1 or 2 good wrecks. That's gonna. And I don't remember. I think it was at Vegas last year when we had the whole Bubba Larson issue when they were fighting down there in the grass. I know you've seen that. You've had to have seen that.
I've heard about it. I haven't.
You haven't seen
it.
that?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, you need to Google that. You need to go to YouTube and look up Larson versus Bubba. It'll come up.
I gotta look that up.
Yeah. because they were racing pretty tight. Larson was on the inside. They were coming up on the dog leg. You know what the dog leg part of the track is? Have you ever heard that phrase before?
Which track?
I think it was at Vegas that this happened.
Ah,
But Vegas
okay.
is the same. It's a mile and a half. It's a cookie cutter. It
Is it
looks
just
just
that
like.
straightish part on the front stretch there? Or
Well, it's kind of. It's you got turns 3 and 4. You got the back stretch, then you
Yeah.
got 3 and 4 coming around. Then you have a little short stretch, and then it has a little what they call a dog leg. It has a little bit of a turn, and then you have another little bit of a straight, and that's where the flag stand is.
Okay, I know what you're
And then you
talking
have
about.
another little dog leg,
Yeah.
another little short shoot, and then you go into turns 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on this, around them dog legs and them short shoots is where they go into the pits. So
Okay.
you have pit road, if you're looking at it from like an aerial view.
Mm-hmm.
You have pit road, but extending. I hear the girls.
Yeah.
They're making their presence known, ain't they?
Yeah.
But if you're looking at aerial view, you got pit road, and then them dog legs are the drivers. The track is coming around. Instead of making a complete circle, it just puts a couple little dog legs in there. And but if you can picture what Daytona or Talladega looks like, it's pretty much the same thing on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
But they were racing, and Larson was on the inside, Bubba was on the outside, and Larson ran him hard, ran him tight, and he pushed him towards the wall. He didn't make contact, but it was very close. And that's what he's supposed to do as a driver. He's supposed to make the other driver have a tough decision. He's supposed to put him into a position to force the other guy to lift.
Yeah.
And if the other guy don't lift, it could be a bad scenario for that guy, right? No matter who that other guy is. And in this case, it just happened to be Bubba.
Yeah.
And Bubba didn't lift. I don't blame him, but in that situation, he probably should have.
Yeah.
And I think he would have been all right had he not lifted. So he's seen how close Larson was, and I don't know what he's thinking. I think he thought maybe Larson was coming up towards him, and when he did, he swerved to the right. Well, the wall was there. He was right on the wall. So he hit the wall. He bounces off the wall. Larson still at this point never makes contact. Well, Bubba gets mad. And he got mad at Larson, drove down, chased Larson down the track, right rear hooked him. Larson comes up, hits the wall. I think he ended up collecting Christopher Bell in that wreck. Whole big scenario, and Bubba gets pissed off. He gets out of the car, he goes down, he starts shoving on Larson.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to punch Larson. And Bubba's a big boy. He's probably, I don't know, I've never stood next to Bubba. He's probably 6'1". He's a good sized boy.
Yeah.
Larson is not. He's not a big boy. Larson is he's a short guy. So he wasn't gonna fight, and he admits that. He's like, I'm not gonna fight nobody. You know what? Look at me. I'm not a big guy. What am I gonna do? You know?
Yeah.
He goes, my best defense is running. So he wasn't gonna fight, but Bubba ended up pushing him. But that kind of thing has happened 2 or 3 different times with different drivers on these kinds of tracks. So I would expect to see that again this week. I don't know if it'd be the same 2 drivers. I would say it'd be different drivers, but it'll be something interesting to watch.
Yeah.
So, that's what I would look for at Kansas. Who do you think, with what you know about NASCAR and who you know about NASCAR, if you had to pick a driver, who would you pick? Would you stick with Hamlin or
for Kansas specifically?
Yes, for Kansas specifically.
Probably stick with Hamlin. Just like I said, he's been fast every week. He's always in the front. I mean, it's gonna be hard to beat him, but
yeah, I'm taking my fantasy stuff out of this. If I just had to pick with my gut and what I know about Kansas and these drivers, I would say watch out for Kyle Larson. But at the same time, Kyle Larson just won last week at Darlington, so he can kind of take it easy. I mean, I know he's not going to, because that's just not how he does, but he's still got playoff points and stage points to go after, so to help him in the next round, he don't need the win, but he's going to go after them stage points. So for that reason alone, I say he may not win.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but you never know.
Yeah.
So, well, let's get into some of this fantasy stuff. Not really a whole lot to talk about. I'm just going to kind of reel off some names and some picks that I see kind of stand out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
You know, you've been putting together this fantasy stuff, and you've been keeping track of our drivers and our picks and the points, and you see who's rising and who's falling and stuff like that. Is there anything that stands out to you as far as these picks?
These picks this week?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of Toyotas.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Denny Hamlin picks.
There's a lot of Denny Hamlin picks. A lot of Gibbs drivers.
Yeah.
But everything else, well, I was going to say everything else was a Chevy, but there's a few Fords in there too. But, yeah, a lot of Toyotas, a lot of Gibbs.
Yeah. I see. Now, I know we give Hunter a hard time on this podcast because I don't know if you know it or not, but Hunter has an almanac, just like the Back to the Future, you know, so Marty McFly, the almanac. He has this almanac.
Yeah.
He picked a winner last week. I think he put the almanac down for a few
until
weeks.
the playoffs started.
So that way it may look realistic. Yeah. And he loses a few spots, and then all of a sudden the playoffs come, points get reset. What do you know? Hunter wins again. Yeah. So he has dusted off the almanac, and he goes 1 for 1 in the playoffs. He's already won. He started with 6 points. He still has 6 points. But this week he has picked Chase Elliott.
He's got one of your dark horses on there.
Yeah, that is one of my dark horses. That's kind of a surprising pick.
He's the only one with him.
The only Chase Elliott pick on the board by the guy with the almanac. We're going to see what happens with that. That's something to keep an eye on right there. That might be
the telltale sign if he really has it or not right there.
Yeah. If Chase Elliott wins this race this week, I'm going to meet this Hunter guy. Yeah. I'm going to try to find this almanac. He better lock that thing up because there's going to be some people coming for it.
Yeah.
But if you notice, right below Hunter, who's that next name on the board?
That is you.
That is me. And who's right below me?
That'd be HR.
That's right. That's right. You hear that, HR? You're below me.
Yeah, I just put it. I noticed you two were tied, but you had the better finish, so that's why I put him in front of you.
Well, I figured I didn't know if you did that or if it was just the program did that.
Well,
I'm
trying to retune the program from when the playoffs started because it's kind of messing up right now. So I just did all those last week, just manually. But
okay. Well, I figured since me and him both had one top 10, one top 5 with our picks last week.
And then you had second, and then he had fifth. So
both of us had 0 wins. The only thing that it could go off of that was different was the average finish, which off of one race I had a second, he had a fifth. So that's why I got bumped ahead of him. But he has picked Kyle Larson. That makes me a little nervous.
Yeah.
I didn't tell him that yet. He'll hear it right here, but that makes me a little nervous. But, like I said, I with Larson winning last week,
he can take it easy.
He can kind of take it easy. And I went with Christopher Bell, who kind of had a shit race last week. He's going to need one.
Yeah. And he's in the right car to do it.
With Bristol coming up, it's kind of like a Daytona Talladega. I mean, it's just throw darts at the wall because there's going to be so many wrecks. It's such a short track. Tempers get flaring. You never know what's going to happen. Kansas is going to determine who makes it to the next round and who don't, I feel like. Because you got guys at the bottom of this playoffs, right around this bubble area, like Bubba and Bell. But they're both in Toyotas, and Toyotas run good. So now is their chance to get it if they're going to get it. So I think they're going to be pushing really hard to get this win, to go ahead and lock themselves into the next round.
Yeah.
Or get as many points, playoff stage points, as I can. So that's why I went with Christopher Bell.
Good pick.
But like you said, there's a lot of Toyotas on that board. There's 3 people took Bell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Denny Hamlins.
Yeah.
We got 1 Kevin Harvick pick. O'Brien, I don't know. He's one of my dark horses, but
Yeah, that sounds like he just wants him to win.
yeah,
Get a win in his last season. He's just rooting for that.
yeah. We got a couple Truexes. We got a few Reddicks.
Yeah.
Couple Byrons.
Mm-hmm.
I think those were auto picked, but
Probably, yeah.
Byron, I would not. Byron's done pretty good everywhere he's went this year, so it would not surprise me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's just another one of them Chevys. I don't look for it to happen, but
he always finds his way up there.
It could happen. So we'll see. And there's another thing I noticed on this board. Mike R is not in the basement.
That's what I noticed. That's crazy.
That guy's been in the basement all year long. He
Yeah.
almost had 500 points, which is, I mean, you almost have to try to get 500 points. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's like try to pick the last place guy every week. I mean, that might be easy.
It's like picking McLeod every week and seeing what happens.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, and Paul is not in the basement anymore. Paul's making a run at this thing.
Yeah.
You know, somebody in our text groups earlier this year, I think it was after the second or third race, poor Paul, he just dropped to the very bottom. And I've never met Paul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Justin knows Paul. He says he's a great guy, but he just dropped all the way to the bottom, and somebody was like, Paul sucks. It's like, man, poor Paul. He ain't even in here, man. He couldn't catch a break. And so I'm kind of rooting for Paul a little bit, and he's making a run at it. He's up to 15th, even though he fell a couple spots this past week.
Yeah.
Some big movers and big losers. I think you got more big losers than you got big gains. Because I gained 3 spots. Earl gained 3 spots. Brian with 4. Jerry with 4. Tony with 4. Jeff C with 3. But Joe T, he's been leading this thing for a long time. Mm-hmm. And he dropped 5 spots.
Yeah.
Hunter took the lead. Joe T dropped 5 spots, but I'm telling you, watch out for Joe T. He's not done. He's coming back up there. Hunter, he's going to kind of float. I don't know. I'm going to make this prediction right now. The only way Hunter's winning this is if he really does have that almanac.
Okay.
Because he's got 3 or 4 guys that are just gunning for him. Mm-hmm. I know I'm gunning for him.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm gunning for HR too. HR's gunning for me, and he's gunning for Hunter. Mm-hmm. And I'm in the same boat. But Joe T, he just seems like a man on a mission this year.
Yeah.
And I've looked to see who he still has available. He's got a lot of good picks available. So he is, if he puts them in the right place, he's still going to be tough to beat, even though he dropped 5 or 6 spots. And then you got poor Mama Lou.
Yeah, that's rough.
She's been all over the board this year. She started out in the basement. Mm-hmm. No, let me take that back. She started out towards the top. Her first few races, she was up there. And then she just dropped. I think she dropped to like 23rd. Mm. And then she moved right back up. Mm-hmm. To where I think she was top 5.
Yeah, I think so.
And then she kind of hovered there for a couple of weeks, and then she lost some steam. She lost some momentum. She dropped.
Last week was rough for her.
8 spots. I think she took Bowman.
Yeah, I think so.
And so his antics caused her a lot of spots.
Yeah.
But the good thing is that was only 1 week. The points are still close. So if you've got a good week, you can still make up a lot of ground quickly.
Yeah.
But you want to do it quick. You know, because after a few races, them points are going to get spread out. You can still move up, but you just won't move up as fast.
Yeah.
You know, you won't jump up 4 spots all the time. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens with that. Hunter's got the Chase Elliott. That's my big thing with this. Let's see if he.
Yeah. See how that goes.
Yeah. Let's see if he really does have that almanac. And so right now for me, with this league, I'm trying to reel in Hunter, and I feel good about it because he's got Elliott and I've got Bell at Kansas. I feel good about who I'm chasing down, but HR's got Larson, and that kind of worries me a little bit. So
yeah, that is worrying.
You know, I don't know. And then Josh is only 1 point below us. He's got Hamlin.
Yeah,
it's gonna get crazy.
Yeah, he's got 6 wins on the season, so he knows what he's doing when more than not. So.
Yeah. going to be an interesting race.
But you're only 8 points behind being the leader, so
Yeah.
that'd be pretty cool to see.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being in top
Get
spot
your name up there
for a little bit.
For a little
I
bit.
mean, I don't expect it to stay there.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be realistic about this thing. I'm up against Joe T, who's just been knocking it out of the park all year, and then you got Hunter with the Almanac. So if I can sneak into that top spot for a week or so, I'll be happy with that.
Yeah.
As long as I stay ahead of HR.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I don't care if I finish 10th, as long as HR finishes 11th or worse. That's
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking for and hoping for. So. Good luck to everybody in the league this week. I think we're all going to need it. We'll see what happens.
Yeah. It'll be a good race.
Yeah. We'll talk about it next week. Talk about who crashed and who got mad. Maybe we might see a little bit of drama. Who knows?
Yeah.
So, one thing we talked about when you were last in here a long time ago. You're into the iRacing thing now. So
Yeah.
how's that going for you?
It's
you
going
enjoying
pretty
it?
all right, yeah. I'm doing a little league every Monday, a little dirt race every Monday. Third in the points, but still don't have a win.
Oh, they're keeping points on it?
Yeah. Third in
Okay.
the points, but
That's-
no win. I'm surrounded by like all these people with wins, but I'm right there with no wins. So, but
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Just got to get
And
better
you're
in the late stages of the race.
Yeah.
Start
so
falling back right there. So
learning to adjust with the track.
yeah, and they've been starting it a lot slicker than they used to. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, they usually would start with a fresh track. Now they're doing like a 35% wear on the track before qualifying. So it's like it gets it's pretty slick, but just gotta adjust to it and learn how to drive on a slicker track. But it's really fun, something to do.
Yeah.
While so it's not bad.
So in your iRacing league, you are every week you're racing on dirt, right?
Yep.
And you race on Monday nights.
Yeah.
At a different track every week. But you alternate.
Yeah, we alternate between sprints and late models. Yeah.
So one week you'll run late models, the next week you'll run a sprint, then
Yeah.
you're back to late models, back to sprint.
Yeah. If we're up to me, it'd be like modified late model. I'm not a sprint car fan, but
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
sensitive, ain't they? They're
they're
touchy.
very sensitive.
But they fast.
They're very fast.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. You got to be so, you can barely move that wheel or a lot's going to happen. So,
Steer it with the throttle.
yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, takes some getting used to, I'm
It
sure.
does, yeah.
I've never done it on the iRace, and I've never drove a sprint car. I'd love to drive a sprint car. I think that'd
Yeah.
be freaking awesome. But it would definitely take some getting used to.
Oh, yeah.
So much power. The car is so light.
Yeah, when you drive those fast sprint cars, those 410 sprints, it is crazy. Yeah, you hit that gas a little bit. I mean, you'll just do a wheelie, and you gotta really be easy on the throttle, and it's pretty cool to do though.
Yeah. So how much adjustments on the car can you do in that iRacing?
Well, on the open setup races, you can do just about. I mean, you can do all the suspension, your gear ratios, how much fuel you put in the car. I mean, you can do so much different stuff on that. Like, I haven't really gotten too much into it because it's just a bit over my head right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know all the particulars, but there is a lot of settings you can adjust on every different wheel. Different suspension.
Oh yeah. So you can adjust it just like a real car.
Yeah, you can. But a lot of people just buy setups, which sucks. But it would be cool if everyone just kind of did their own setups. But a lot of people, there's some few, bigger name drivers in like the Pro Series who own like a shop where they sell their setups. So
Really?
and people just buy them and race them, and they're fast.
Yeah.
They don't just sell any regular setup. It's fast as it gets, pretty much. So
That'd be pretty
on
cool.
that, so
So
pretty cool. But it's like $20 a track, and that's just that's too much for me to dish out on every track. It's a bit ridiculous.
To buy the setup or to buy
just
the track?
just the track itself is $12, and then on top of that, you have to buy a $20 setup if you're going to race the open setup races.
Holy smokes!
Oh
so
yeah,
you could be
it's ridiculous.
before you know it, you're $40 into one race.
And
Now, can you win anything doing this? I mean, is this just all for pride, just experience, just having
In
fun,
my
or
league,
can
or
you
just in
win like
leagues in
money,
general?
prizes?
In my specific league?
Anything,
Or?
anything.
The pro league is, I think it's like 30 different. They race the super late models every Monday as well, and it's broadcasted by iRacing themselves. And I think it's like 300, 200, 100 purse every week for the top
Okay.
three, and then it's $10,000 to the season winner.
Really?
So you can win some pretty good money if you're good at it, but that's the best of the best, though. So
that's pretty cool.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
How long does that season go on? Just, or do you know?
I'm not sure. It's probably about 20 races, 24 races.
Mm-hmm.
It's not too long, but it's pretty cool though.
Yeah.
But you know, it's the same two guys who usually win all the time. It gets kind of boring.
In your league?
Not in my league. In the pro series with the $10,000 championship. It's like the same two guys who win all the time. So
is it the same two guys that are selling the
yeah.
the setups?
Same two guys with their name on the shop. Yeah, they win a lot.
Okay.
And the only one who
I see where we're going here.
The only one who's been winning recently that's not a part of those two uses their setups. So yeah, they know what they're doing, and they're winning good money doing it.
Well,
so
I guess if you're doing that, why stop, right?
Yeah,
keep on doing
I know
it.
they race in real life, but I mean, with the $300 win every week, and you're going to win $10,000 at the end of the season. I mean, why not just do that every Monday too while you're at it?
Right.
Yeah. And you're selling all those setups on top of it. I mean, can't blame them for doing that.
No, I'd like to get into that. I think it's something that I'm going to try to get into.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sometime, as soon as I can, get the setup and all that, get the wheel and the pedals and the whole, the gaming system for it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind doing that.
Yeah,
especially
cool.
during the winter time when you got, because I'm, of course, when the weather's good, I'm out doing a lot of stuff like a lot of people are. But
yeah,
when it's winter time, I think I could spend hours on that thing.
Oh yeah, you definitely can. I mean, and they have every different type of series. So if you get bored with the dirt, you can go race ARCA cars or Xfinity cars.
I didn't know anybody could ever get
cars.
bored with the dirt.
Yeah,
That's the only place to race.
I
right?
know. But if you do, for some crazy reason, yeah, you can race. I mean, formula cars, road courses on just like Miatas. I mean, they got everything. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
There's an old saying, and I'm pretty sure people still say it, but dirt's for racing and asphalt's for getting there.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah. They use the asphalt on the street.
Yeah.
We race on the dirt. So, and I'm a firm believer.
Yeah.
I've never raced on an
It's
asphalt
definitely
track.
funner to race the dirt on
yeah.
iRacing. I mean, I haven't obviously had no real life experience, but
well, my suggestion to you, if the races are starting with a very slick track, I'd start at the bottom, work your way up with the track.
Yeah.
Because the track tends to the groove tends to go upward. That's why late in the race, if you're watching a dirt race on TV or something, you see a lot of guys. They're all running really high, especially towards the end of the race, because that cushion, all them marbles, all them dirt that they've been kicking up off those wheels are going up there towards the high side of the track, right? So that's their cushion.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys driving on the low end of the track, because that's the shortest way around the track. All those cars down there dries that part of the track out, and then as the track dries, it becomes black and gets slick.
Yeah.
And it's like driving on ice. So now you're looking for traction.
Yeah.
Traction's where the moisture is. So keep moving up. Just half a lane at a time. Keep your right rear tire in that grip.
Yeah.
Keep that left rear tire in the dry. That's where you get some speed. But I'm no expert. So
No, yeah, that's
no
definitely what you
expert,
got to
but-
do. I'm just pretty bad at knowing when exactly the
Yeah.
lane is going out until I see that guy coming up on me, and I'm like, oh. By the time I notice it's going out, the guy's already going
Now-
around me, and then I gotta.
Do you have a rear view on that?
Yeah.
Keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Keep an eye on him. It's just, if he's getting closer and closer, move up to his line. That way you're going to force him to adjust, because then he is used to that line. But now you've moved up into it, and in order for him to get around you, he has to change his line. So he's got to go up higher where it's maybe a little bit slicker, wetter, or he's got to go down low where it's drier, slicker. Force him to move around. See what that does for you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Who
definitely.
knows? Can't hurt to try, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely got to give that.
It might work. It might not. If it don't, you keep adjusting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about something else here. We've got a few more minutes. So I know you've got a little toy car, and not I say a toy car. It's a hobby car. It's just a street car that you've just been working on. Making it yours. You've pieced it together. You've went halfway across the Midwest to get an engine and a body and all this stuff for this car.
A hodgepodge of every state put into this thing.
I think where'd you go? Wisconsin to get the car.
Wisconsin for the car.
Cincinnati
Ohio
for the engine.
Yeah.
And it's a fast little car. It's tore apart right now. Is it still tore apart right now?
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're busy with other things going on, but I know when you had it together, would you have twin turbos in it?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
It was pretty quick.
Fast.
It was pretty quick.
Little car for sure.
It probably threw me back in the seat harder than anything else that I've ever ridden in.
It surprises people because, especially people like you who are like, oh, it's a little import car or whatever.
What is it?
It's a Toyota Supra. It's a 1987 Toyota Supra or 88 Toyota Supra.
Yeah.
But the 90s ones are more well known, so I got to make it known that it's not one of those because those are like $50,000.
Gotcha.
Mine is not one of those, but it is fast, like one of those. But so.
And the engine is
It's a 1JZ GTE, so it's a twin turbo, inline six, 2.5 liter engine, but very reliable, like build quality, and it's very fast.
It was pretty quick.
Revs really high.
Yeah.
It's a fun car.
Mm-hmm. And lately you've been talking about...
Yeah, been talking about selling it so I can get into dirt racing in real life.
Yeah.
So, because that's something that just seems a lot more fun to do, something to because my car is fun and it's great, but I think it'd just be funner to load the car up every week or every other week, whenever they race, and give it a shot in real life. Because it's fun to do on the iRacing. I mean, I know it's going to be nothing like it, but I'm at least learning the concepts of like throttle control and getting around other people, and so it'd be fun to do.
Well, when you're racing on dirt, don't ever just slam the gas.
Yeah,
you're not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
There's also another saying that you have to treat the throttle like you have an egg underneath it. So when you're getting back on the throttle, you can do it fast, but you don't want to just stomp it, because then you're going to bust the egg, right? So you want to slowly start getting back on that throttle, and as you start getting in there, you can speed up with pressing that throttle down. You want to make sure your rear tires are gripping, to get the forward bite versus the side bite.
I've noticed with those faster cars on iRacing, you definitely gotta be really easy on that throttle.
Yes.
So
and you want to race the track. You don't really want to race the other drivers. You find your groove where you're fast on that track, and don't worry really about what everybody else around you's doing, because if you're fast, you'll catch them. You'll pass them. That was the first race that I ever won at Brownstown. It wasn't a feature, but it was. I think it was like I feel like it was a 30-car consi, but I was running. I started 5th or 6th row. I don't remember where I was at, but I just remember I was just driving. I was focusing on my driving because at the time I was still learning.
Yeah.
And I wasn't focused on what these guys around me were doing. I was watching the leader. The leader happened to be a friend of mine who ran the same car number. So we pitted together. We'd help each other out. And he started on the front. And I just noticed lap after lap, I'm watching to see where he's at, but I'm focusing on me.
Yeah.
Am I falling back or am I gaining? That's all I'm really doing.
Yeah,
I'm not really focused on who's around me right now, because when we started the race, I think he was a whole straightaway ahead of me.
Yeah.
But he had a pretty fast car. I had a smaller engine than he did, but he had a pretty fast car. And I noticed after a few laps, he was only half a straightaway ahead of me. I just kept doing what I was doing. Then after a few more laps, he's only a couple car lengths in front of me. So I just kept focusing on what I'm doing. Next thing I know, I'm right on his bumper. I'm running third. I mean, and then we ran 3 or 4 laps where me, him, and another guy, I mean, we could have come out of turn 4, 3 wide. We go into turn 1, we're still 3 wide. Mm-hmm. We ran like that for 3 or 4 laps. I mean, there was some laps I'm sorry, I take that back. That was not the first race that I won, but that was the first race that I got a taste of being up front.
Yeah.
And it's different once you get up front, you know. It's a total different mindset, you know, because the first time I was up front, I kind of freaked out a little bit. I'm like, what do I do now? You know, I've been trying this whole time to get up here. Now what do I do? You know? Do I play defense? I I didn't know. So it's a totally different mindset that you have to have and prepare yourself for. But my advice to you as your dad, as someone who's done it before, talking to someone who hasn't done it before, and my dad said the same thing to me when I was in your position was, because my dad wanted me to get the street car that you could just tinker with whenever you had time, whenever you wanted to, versus the race car, because he raced when he was younger, you know, so he knew the work that it involved and the ups and downs, both money-wise, emotionally, all that stuff that comes with it. It's a lot of work. Whereas the car you got now, you can tinker with it when you want to, versus the race car. If you're racing for points, sometimes you got to get out there in that garage and you gotta be busting your knuckles until 2 in the morning to try and get this thing going, and still get up for work the next morning. You know, so I mean, there's a lot of nights like that. But at the
getting a call. Well, we'll just mute that for now.
But at the same time, I wouldn't steer anybody away from it either. You know, if that's something you want to do, go for it. You know.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd help you any way I can. You know, you got quite a few people here that would help you any way we can.
Yeah.
Give you any advice and stuff like that. But that's how I learned how to work on cars. Yeah. Of course, I can't learn on stuff like what you're doing because I don't know these imports, these computer cars. Yeah. I can't do any of that, but like the basic, this is an engine, this is a rear end, transmission, stuff like that. I can work on all that kind of stuff, and that's how I learned to do it, by getting in there and, you know, Dad showing me this or that, and you know, I blew up numerous motors in my day, but I was learning, you know, and you know, I learned how to add power, I learned how to drive it, I learned how to read the track a little bit. So all them things just by doing it, even if you don't win, and you're not going to win any money at it. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I don't expect to.
It's a losing game as far as money goes, unless you're the big time and you're winning quite a bit, and you never know, you could be there too. So, but the friends you make while you're doing it would be people that you would never meet by not doing it. You know what I mean? You know, I made tons of friends, tons of stories. I just had a blast doing it. So, and you may look at options as far as not selling the car that you're working on, your Supra. Yeah. You've got options, you know. You got to keep all your options open. Look at everything before you decide on anything, but have fun no matter what you're doing with it. Yeah. You know, but so anyway, enough of being dad there for a minute. Let's talk more about racing. There's a couple of big races going on this weekend that I know you've heard of the World 100, right? Eldora. That's going on this weekend. I believe the big show is tomorrow. I've never been to the World 100. You know, in all my years of watching dirt racing and actually doing dirt racing, I've never been to Eldora. So that's definitely on my bucket list. Yeah. I'd like to get up there and see that, but that's kind of a big party at the same time, which I'm okay with that. But I've just never had the opportunity to go with work schedules and stuff like that. But the World 100 is this weekend, the biggest, best dirt late model race ever.
I've been keeping up with those bigger name late model races just because it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah,
so it'll be fun to watch and see what happens. But
and Eldora is just a track that you don't have to let off the throttle. I mean, you're just balls out all the way around. You know, hammer down, try to stay clear of everything, and hope like best that run what you brung and hope you brung enough. You know, so that race is going on this weekend. That's going to be a big one, and one that I have went to quite often is the World Figure Eight Championships. Now, I know a lot of people don't even know what a figure eight race is, and I know me and HR used to go to a lot of figure eight races together, and we went to this race, the World 300, which is I'm sorry, not the World 300. It is the World Championships. It is a 3-hour endurance race.
Yeah.
Figure eight, but they call them outlaw cars, which is basically do what you want with it. It looks like a dirt late model. I'm sorry, it looks like a dirt modified.
Yeah.
But it is pretty much equivalent to a dirt late model. These guys got a lot of money in their cars, a lot of money in the motors, and they're running it through an intersection twice per lap.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah.
Putting that much money into it just to run it through an intersection twice a lap is crazy.
And it's almost guaranteed you're going to see a couple good wrecks.
Oh, yeah.
At the World Championships. And that's in Indianapolis at the Speedrome. It's a very small track, but it packs a lot of excitement. So I've been up there numerous times. That one's also happening tomorrow. I don't think I'll get to go to that. I was hoping I could, but I don't think I'm going to be able to with everything going on. But just two big races that usually fall on the same night, which kind of sucks because then you have to choose between the two.
Yeah.
I want to get to Eldora, but I really don't want to miss the figure eight race either because that is. I'm going to tell anybody out there listening that's never been to this race. I'm talking about the figure eight race, the World Championships. It is the greatest spectacle in racing. I would have to say that. I've seen sprint car races. I've been to sprint car races. I've been to late model races, all except for the World 100. I've never been to any big time sprint races, and I'm not dogging sprint cars or late models. I love them both. I mean, them drivers have the biggest balls of everybody I've ever seen in a car. They got to have a passenger seat just to hold just to hold them, but this figure eight race is the most exciting spectacle in all of racing just because they're driving through an intersection. And if you've never seen it, you think of an intersection. Every intersection you've ever been on in the street has a red light or a stop sign. These do not.
No.
You do whatever you got to do to get to the other side, and that's it.
Yeah.
Hope you make the right decision because in 3 hours, I've seen some of these races go 500 laps. Yeah,
that's crazy.
500 laps in 3 hours. Now you go through an intersection twice per lap. You're doing 1,000 times through an intersection, full bore. And these guys are racing for 20 grand.
Yeah.
This weekend they're racing for 20,000. Now, the biggest one I went to, I think it was the 35th anniversary or the 30th anniversary of it. They were racing for $30,000 or $35,000.
Yeah.
But these guys, it's crazy. It's crazy what they do, and once you see one, you'll be hooked. I can promise you that. So, I just wanted to say, hey, World 100, World Championships, World 100 in Eldora, World Championships in Indianapolis, both happening tomorrow. If you're going to them, have fun. Hope your driver wins. It's gonna be a ball.
It's gonna be crazy.
And you've never been to the World Championships, have you?
No.
Well, we're gonna have to get you up there next year, because that's amazing.
Yeah.
You will not believe. And I know you can look that one up on YouTube. There's plenty of clips of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
definitely
crazy.
got to see it because figure eight races are fun to watch from what I can remember at the sports drome. But yeah.
Well, I've watched figure eight racing all my life.
Yeah.
I've had friends that did it. Cheer for certain drivers over the years, and you just once you're into that, you're hooked, forever. So and I love dirt racing. I love dirt racing more than just about anything. But I think the only thing that tops dirt racing for me is a figure eight race, a really good one. Some of them you might have 7 cars that run 20 laps and it's kind of boring because they don't really do nothing. But when these guys, I'm telling you, the first hour of this World Championships, these guys are going 4 wide both directions. I don't know how the hell they're getting across there. I don't know how the hell they're looking at each other saying, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And, they just,
yeah.
it's just go.
Just going.
And the first time I went up there, me and HR went up there. What's his name? The guy, he was on TV. His name's Jesse James. He builds the motorcycles, the custom bikes and stuff. He had a show where he built a figure 8 car, and he had this buddy that was helping him out. His name was Barefoot Billy or something like that, and they were out in California.
Yeah.
They came all the way to Indianapolis to run this race. So Jesse James was in the first World Championship race that I went to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
and
cool.
he did pretty decent, I mean, he did not hesitate a bit. I thought, this TV guy, he's out here with the best in the world. He's gonna hesitate. He's gonna stop at the intersection. We're gonna make fun of him. He did not. he was a badass. I'll tell you that. He was a badass. So he didn't win. He was, but he did pretty good. And that World Championship is everybody that brings a car is going to get in the feature. They start with, I think it's 25 cars, 20 or 25 cars like a normal feature does. But like, let's say there's 40 cars at the show. The other 20 are alternates. So if somebody gets clipped in the intersection and blows a tire, right, they got to go into pits and change his tire. As soon as they go into pits, first alternate comes out on the track. So there's always 20 to 25 cars on the track. Yeah. Now the guy that popped his tire, he can come back on the track because he was one of the originals that started. So now you have 21 cars on the track.
Oh, okay, I see.
Next guy, he has a problem, he's got to go off track, alternate comes in. The other guy that had trouble can also come back in. Now we got 22 cars. So it's very possible you can get 45 cars on this little bitty track running a figure 8 race. Is crazy. Absolutely crazy. But enough about that. That's my spiel on the figure 8. It's incredible, and that's going on tomorrow. World 100 also tomorrow. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people out there to that. There's always a packed house at the World 100. So that's about all I've got for this thing. You got anything?
I was going to ask if you've seen any of those NASCAR classics that got on the NASCAR website.
No.
They got like free to watch, like pretty good races from like any time in history.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. I've been watching some of those, like
some of the old school.
Yeah, they got like Earnhardt at Bristol spinning out Terry Labonte, rattling his cage. They got
that's an iconic moment. Yeah.
They got a little bit of everything. They got like Harvick's win that year when his rookie year or whatever. I think he won a race.
He won
Atlanta. Got that. Yeah. Yeah. They got a little bit of everything. It's pretty cool to see.
Do they got any of the old school like Richard Petty races?
Oh yeah, they got some 60s, 70s. They got a little bit of everything.
That's when
all the way up to like Ross Chastain last year at Martinsville. I mean, they have like a little bit of everything. So
that's cool.
It's pretty cool to see. You definitely gotta check it out.
Well, while you're watching those, take note of the cars through the years. What all they've done with safety and how they've changed the cars, and because you gotta, and I don't think a lot of people really understand where these cars came from and where they're at now, because way back in the day, like when Richard Petty was racing in the 60s, these cars were just a shell. Yeah. They were a body, an engine, and 4 tires, and a driver with an open-faced helmet, a driver's seat that was just ripped straight out of the actual car. You know, I mean, it's not. It's probably in there bouncing around with the driver as he's driving around the track. It's crazy. That is crazy. And these guys were just, and you see these guys flipping over. They're having hard wrecks. It's like, how did these guys survive these things? But that's when men were men, you know. But yeah, it's crazy. I kind of wish it was back the way it was back then, you know. Now, just because it was so cool. So cool to watch. Yeah. So, and I came up when it was like in the mid '80s is when I started watching NASCAR. They were still pretty basic cars back then. Yeah. But those old school races are just. It's
cool to see because you get a little bit of like I get to see like what you watched, and then like what the little bits I remember from when I was younger, like just like the early to late 2000s stuff. Yeah. So it's pretty cool to see. Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So. Yeah. Like I said, everything that they've been through, where they were, where they are now, how the drivers were so different, and but keep watching them. I think you're going to learn a lot just by watching them old school races. Yeah. So, but that's all we've got for this episode. Thank you for stepping in and joining the podcast. Next week we'll be talking about Kansas and all the drama that entails that, and we'll be looking forward to Bristol because we are going to Bristol, so that's going to be exciting. Oh, before we go, I was supposed to give Justin another clue as to where we're taking him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because after Bristol we're going to take him somewhere. It's kind of a surprise. He don't know where we're going yet.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I've told you where we're going.
Mm-mm.
Well, after we get off the air, I'll tell you where we're going. It's nothing that you can bring home with you, but it's just a cool place to go. Just a place to say that you've been there, and it's pretty damn cool. So I gave him a clue last week of bagpipes. This week I'm going to give him the clue of moonshine. And I'm going to see if he can figure this out before we go to Bristol. So, bagpipes and moonshine, that's his...
It sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, that's... I don't know if he'll be able to figure that out, but it'd be fun to watch him try, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But that's all we got for this week. Like I said, next week we'll be talking about Kansas happenings, looking forward to Bristol. Probably one of the best races of the year is Bristol Night Race. So, wherever you're going to watch the races at this week, hope you have a good time. Be safe. Take somebody new with you, like we said. To see somebody going to the racetrack for the first time, watch their expression is it's priceless. The questions they ask and the excitement that you see in their faces is amazing. So, take somebody new. Have a good time. Hope your driver wins, and we will talk to you next week. Right in the face.
Yep.
Got to put that in there. Old Justin ain't here.